So if you feel like you come into work and like what you're around you is not what you envisioned, it is not the atmosphere that you wanted, that's how you kind of know there's an issue with the culture, because it's not what you wanted. So we have to be intentional in building that. And people should be happy. And if they're not, then it's like, why? Well, are they really not being fulfilled by the work that they're doing? What's going on there? But there's so much more to culture than just the career development path. This is just one piece of it, but it is a big piece.
Hey, Entreleaders, happy Wednesday, and welcome to another episode of the Leaders Lab podcast. If you are new here, I am your host, Dr. Charity C. Campbell, better known as Dr. C, and I am a doctor of management, a world-class millennial global leader, academic professional, and multi-passionate entrepreneur. Here in the Leaders Lab, we talk all things entreleadership, where we take entrepreneurship and leadership concepts and we marry the two together. We also talk about communication and balance as a millennial professional. And in today's episode, our esteemed guest is a fellow millennial and a seasoned executive business coach who understands the challenges that business owners face when it comes to developing their business culture and the business culture of their dreams. If you are ready to gain insights on how to create the business culture of your dreams, how to attract, hire, and retain top talent. That's a big one, okay? And to understand why your team is the key to unleashing a high-performance culture, then honey, get comfortable, grab some coffee, grab some tea, get ready to take notes because this episode is for you. Mary Guirovich is an award-winning executive business leadership coach, the founder of My Promotion Plan, and the creator of My Promotion Plan Career Advancement System. Mary partners with entrepreneurs and corporations to create high-performing, inclusive, and sustainable cultures. Mary is the #1 best-selling author of, listen to this title, I love it, God's Not Done With You, and has a depth of experience leading in the executive ranks, starting 2 multi-million-dollar businesses, consulting with over 30 Fortune 500 brands, and coaching over 580 business owners where she's trained thousands of team members. Specializing in business growth, career advancement strategies, and leadership development, DICS, DE&I, and creating thriving workplace cultures. Her expertise has been featured in CDA Career Developments magazine and Thrive Global. She has spoken on the stage to thousands as a seasoned executive business and career coach for various organizations, including the Pennsylvania State University, the Cardinal Newman Colleges, and Unfair Advantage Live. Mary is the host of the Mary Guirovich Show podcast and has been featured on the Women of Empowered Living Show, the Jackie Minsky Show, in the Growth Space podcast, the Greatness Machine, Girl Get Your Swag Back podcast, and now you can add the Leaders Lab podcast as well. She holds a BS in hotel, restaurant, and institutional management. Entreleaders, please help me welcome this amazing woman to the Leaders Lab podcast, Mary Guirovich. Welcome to the Leaders Lab, love.
Thank you, Dr. Charity. That was quite an introduction. I am so honored to be here and look forward to this conversation with all of your listeners.
Listen, you bring the talent and the experience. I just share it with the people. And you have such an impressive story. You have such an impressive background. How did you get started in everything?
Yeah, the truth is that my background and the way I got started really wasn't that impressive. It all actually started with me not believing in myself very much and not thinking I was very capable. The truth is, all through grade school, I struggled to believe in myself. I started struggling with spelling and reading and writing when I was just in the first grade. And I held on to these limiting beliefs all the way through high school. So much so I didn't even think I was going to go to college. I thought that I was going to go and be a masseuse. I took a trip to Las Vegas. And during that trip, I got a massage, and I was so inspired by that trip that I came home and I told my mom, I no longer want to be a masseuse. I want to run a hotel in Las Vegas. And
wow,
my mom was my champion. Like, she believed in me, and my mom has always believed in me. And I'm so grateful for the people in my life that believe in me. even when I can't see it. But she believed in me so greatly. And so she called the Hilton and she said, where should my daughter go to school if she wants to run your hotel? And they said, Cornell, if you can afford it. Penn State is amazing. And so we were at Penn State. So it took a couple puddle jumps, but there I was. And 4 years later, I graduated with that degree in hotel restaurant management. And that's how I got my starting in restaurants. And from there, I just started to grow and develop. And over time, I found myself living in Texas. I moved down here to help my sister out. Her husband was in the Air Force, and my niece was getting ready to turn 1, and she was pregnant with my nephew. So I moved down here to help her out, and I just remained. She introduced me to my husband and my 3 bonus babies that I get to have full time. I just consider them my children. So you'll hear me talking about them as my children. I have 4 children all together, but that's how I got here. And through that experience, my husband actually said, Mary, like, why don't you get a job outside of the restaurant? And at this point, I was working and consulting with those Fortune 500 companies, and I was really successful. I was doing quite well, but it was a little bit of a stressful situation and things had changed a little bit. And so he encouraged me. And that's actually when I switched career fields. And at this point in time, I was like, is anyone going to want me? I had this distorted thinking, as I call it today. You can't tell in those moments, but I'm like, we don't have all the right information sometimes. And I switched career fields and I started working as a front office assistant for a wellness center. And it was through this position that I was actually able to work for the doctor. And it was definitely God's hand was in this all the way. I knew I was supposed to be there. Logically, it didn't make any sense. How am I going from a successful restaurant manager, consultant, Fortune 500 companies to working as a front office assistant? It didn't make any sense, but I knew, and I told my husband, I'm like, God wants me to be here. And within a week, my bonus was increased by $3,000. And I found out the doctor was opening up a company to coach other doctors. And it was through that I actually got to be the first team member there.
Wow.
And it was through this journey that I actually discovered the career advancement process that I teach today. Because there was a point as I was going through, I was excelling. I became a coach and I started coaching doctors and I was coaching the team members and I was doing all of these things. But there was a point where my husband was telling me, Mary, you should be an executive for this company, because the company had grown. It had grown from nothing to multi-millions. And I wasn't believing in myself again. I was like, I don't know. And I would look at all of these small mistakes. And because I wasn't being picked, I thought that I wasn't right for the position. And that was my belief. And so one day I found myself at a leadership meeting, and I stood up from that meeting and I said, I'm going to be the next COO of this company. And little did I know, my opportunity would come just 3 months later.
Wow.
So I walked down that hall and I asked my boss for that open position. I knew that I needed to, because previously I'd just been helping to hire people for that position and then helping to train them. And they are phenomenal women. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to work with both the people before me. But that's when my boss told me, we're not sure that you're right for the position, but if you could do the job, then you could get the pay of the title. And I looked at Google, I looked at books, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I'm already working really hard. Like, I'm overworking. I never saw my son in a piano recital on strategic projects. I have mentors. I was named team member of the year. I had the largest and most successful coaching load. I'm coaching the other coaches. I'm in the position leading up to this one. And so I'm like, what am I going to do that's more than this? And so one day I found myself at work on my day off. And my husband calls me and he says, Mary, my company is going in a different direction, and I think I'm going to be out of my job. And that moment, as I absorbed all of those emotions and the reality that my husband, the breadwinner, was going to lose his job, we had just had our 4th child and I couldn't earn a promotion. That's when God spoke to me. And he said, Mary, make a plan. And that's when I went to work, putting my ideas onto paper, because I had a vision for the company. I could see where things were going off the rails a little bit. I had this vision, but trying to clearly communicate this was really challenging. And I know now more why that was challenging, but at that time, it was just challenging. But through writing this down, and I turned it in a few weeks later, I didn't know what was going to happen. I slipped it in on my boss's desk. And to my delight, they came to my desk and they're like, when are we talking about this? This is so impressive. I said, tomorrow, as soon as I could get that meeting. And that's when I became vice president of operations. And it worked so well, I thought I'd do it again. And I did another one the next year, and I became chief operating officer. And the plans worked so well for implementing. I could literally get all of my ideas approved in a 1-hour meeting that I turned in another one, even though I already had my dream position. And that's when I was made a partner, told I was on track to be CEO, and I was encouraged to start my own business that I have today. And it was at this point that I started to realize, oh, I'm not the only one that's struggling here. through
Yeah.
interviewing other people, I started to realize that there's an epidemic of women, especially when I'm interviewing women, they're coming in with all this experience and they're asking for really low salaries.
Yes.
And that was a
Yeah.
really tough thing to see. And so I knew that I wanted to help other people. And what actually happened with my organization, my job was really to develop the culture. So I got to have this real world experience developing our culture. But not only that, because we were coaching other businesses, I got to experience and help coach and implement the cultural standards for the other doctors' offices as well. So it was really this ability not just to develop these cultural standards, but to be able to implement them across hundreds of businesses through the owners, the managers, and the team members, and really teaching them how to create amazing cultures, which I think our world just needs more of, right? We need more cultures.
Yeah.
But what I so love is that the career advancement process that I've developed became the standard in my company. So literally when I would onboard people, I would be teaching them, this is how you advance your career. Or when somebody wanted to advance, I said, okay, this is what we do. And the thing that really separates this is usually when somebody comes in, because the listeners that are listening today, you guys are leaders, you're business owners, and people are coming to you. They're asking you for raises. They're asking you for promotions. And all of that is always, it's done off of the past. It's never done off of the future. And that's different about the promotion planning process that I developed. And that's why I help companies to put what I call power plans into place. And this is where a company can say, okay, we're going to have our company actually develop these plans because now we can get the ideas from people. Because here's what happens. We go to advance somebody in their career. We go to give them a promotion. We're doing it off of their past performance. And we're just saying, okay, we'll be good in the future. But we don't actually know what their strategic ideas are for the future. And this planning process lets you get to see those strategic ideas. And that's the difference maker here, because when you go in to ask for a raise or promotion, you're not just going in and saying, hey, here's what I did, give me more money for this. No, it's, hey, I'm a partner. I want to help this business grow. Here's my ideas. And the way we break these ideas down is we really want it to be, what is the idea, or what is problem are we trying to solve? What challenge are we trying to overcome? Let's identify that. And your team members are the best ones to do this. But so often ideas are not adopted because managers are so overrun with ideas. They feel if an idea comes up and they can't implement it properly, they're going to look like a failure. All these reasons, managers won't take the ideas to the next level. But we're missing out on all this incredible innovation and all of this gold that your team members have. And that's what's really important about this process, is it allows people to say what's needed and then why is it needed? And when we do this, why is it needed? Well, we take all the emotion out of it. So it's not Sally gets really upset when, or I have to stay 30 minutes later, right? We really boil it down to what's really happening. Our customers aren't happy. It's costing us more money. It takes more time. It could be more efficient. And then we get to write down the solutions, because so often people come to their boss and they're just coming with problems or they're coming with ideas, but they haven't really thought through, like, how will we implement this? And this is what really separates this practice, because now people are invested in helping the company grow and develop. It's not just about earning another paycheck. When I turned my plans in, the third one, I wasn't even expecting to get an advancement. I actually was like, these are my ideas. It works so well for implementing. Let me do this again. But because they provide so much value, I got one of the biggest raises of my career. It definitely was the biggest raise in my career, and the honor to get to be a partner with the company that I still am today.
That's amazing. And you had the nerve to say that I made you sound good in the introduction. Honey, you made you sound good. Your experience and just everything. And I love hearing your story, because you're right. A lot of, especially women, we come in with experience. We come in with incredible value, yet we don't ask for the value in dollars, right? For whatever reason, or we do and we get rejected, we get turned down, we get passed over and overlooked. And so I love hearing the divine strategic promotion that God had in store for you, and what was the thing that kind of set it off. One thing that you said, the transition that your husband was about to make. And I admire the fact that you didn't stress in a way that made you say, okay, what are we going to do? I need to quit, or I need to go do this, or you need to find another job. You didn't shift the blame or do any of those things. You went to God in prayer and was like, what am I supposed to do? Because you were already asking, what more were you supposed to do in this other position? But I feel like it was that extra push, that divine push from circumstances that made you say, okay, write the vision, make it as plain as possible, because that vision that becomes plain is going to become the standard. Ma'am, you created standards for people. So I think that's absolutely amazing. Even building business culture for so many other establishments, that's major.
Really, all glory to God. He really has the perfect plan.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. I started off sharing with you today how I used to struggle with reading, writing, and spelling. And
Yeah.
this was the thing that held me back. Today, I'm a #1 best-selling author. God
Crazy.
gave me this plan, and I actually share my planning process in my book, God's Not Done With You, How to Advance Your Career and Live in Abundance. And it's not only for women in their careers, but it's also for all business owners. So you can understand the challenges that people face and how you can
Yeah.
implement this plan. Because what we've found is whenever there are clear career advancement paths, it actually improves morale. It improves employee performance. It improves happiness. It improves retention because people know how to take that next step in their career. They're not standing there in the dark. What do I do? How do I go the next step? And this
Yeah.
process it's not as simple as the plans take me about 18 hours. My last one took me about 18 hours to put together. So I have to put some effort into that thing. It's not like it just happens. So I couldn't just walk into my boss's office. And I know a lot of times we're always thinking, well, how can we make it simpler? How can we get this done in a day? Does it really need to be this way? And I teach people to really build this out over 4 to 6 weeks. And in the plan,
Okay.
I lay out a 30-day plan because you want your ideas to have space to breathe. So sure, you can put
Yes.
it together, but if you haven't been thinking about this ever, don't put that kind of pressure on yourself unless you have a
Yeah.
promotion opportunity. But otherwise, give yourself space to breathe. And when you can put systems into place, we also know this helps with diversity, equity, and inclusion because now everybody knows the system. And what the studies show is that when women know the system, they're more likely to actually follow that system and use it, and they'll be successful in that system. So it's a
Okay.
natural way. But the thing that I really love is you get like when my employees would put these together, I was so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, you want to be the communication director? Yes, this is an
I
amazing
love it.
position. It never even existed before. Oh, you want to take on all of the training? Yes, amazing. Thank you for stepping up
Wow.
and stepping into this role and taking ownership of something that was really meaningful to you. Because a lot of times, if we're not careful, we can start to do a lot of work that's not really meaningful to us. And whenever
Absolutely.
we get to say, hey, here's my ideas, and here's what I would like to do, and here's where I would like to take my career, now that employee is going to be happy long term. And it's not that they're dictating to you because you still get to decide as a business owner. Not
Yeah.
You don't have to give them anything specific because they turn in one of these plans.
Mhm.
Because they're doing this, the whole company is moving forward. And now a career advancement is no longer a mystery. Because when you are a new business owner, you don't usually have career paths. It's everybody's doing everything.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
started, I was the secretary, I was accounts
Everything.
receivable, I was the coach,
Everything.
you're everything. As you grow, this is a great way to really see how your team wants to develop. And over time, once you get to those next stages of growth, you can always break things back and pare things back and really say, okay, here's where we are. And you can work with your team members. But this is a great way to help people be involved in solving problems. So if you feel like you come into work and like what you're around you is not what you envisioned, it is not the
Yeah.
atmosphere that you wanted, that's how you kind of
Yeah.
know there's an issue with the culture because it's not what you wanted. So we have to be intentional in building that. And people
I
should
love
be
it.
happy. And if they're not, then it's like, are they really not being fulfilled by the work that they're doing? What's
Mm.
going on there? But there's so much more to culture than just the career development path. This is just one
Yes.
piece of it, but it is a big piece because this really allows you to make good decisions when promoting people. Because, like we said earlier, usually you just pick somebody. And what we do is our subconscious mind, we say, okay, we picked the right person. Like we really think, we will justify, we'll pick with our subconscious and then we'll justify with our conscious mind logically why we picked the person. And we're going to say, this is the best person because I know but we really don't have any of that future strategic vision. And so this actually, the person has to lay out the strategic vision for the future. If they can't lay it out, then they're not going to be able to have that vision or communicate that vision. And you can save yourself from actually either hiring someone new or promoting somebody into a position that they actually don't have a strategic vision for. They just did well in their previous position.
Wow. So then as an entrepreneur starting out, you're building your team. How do you incorporate business culture in the process of hiring and training and retention processes with your team?
Yeah. Well, it really starts at the beginning. And it starts with you as the business owner. You want to decide, what do you want your culture to be like? What do you want to be known for? And what do you want your company to represent? What do you want the atmosphere to look like? And then you have to ask yourself, am I willing to show up in that way? So I was once coaching a gentleman and his team, and he told me that they wanted to have fun. Fun was one of their core values. And so I asked him, I said, what do you do for fun? How do you bring fun into the workplace? Well, I don't. You're the leader. You have to be the leader in these things. So if you want fun, and I'm so proud of him because after that conversation, he got it and he was like, okay, I'm going to be planning fun things for us to do because this is something that I wanted. And so the thing is just to start with these core values. Don't make them so big, right? You just need a few words and maybe a sentence to go with it, because what you don't want is like 10 of them. 5 or 6 core values are enough. And you want them to be simple to where people can remember them. So this is one of the things that we did as we went through our core values. And if you have a team, you can do exercises with your team to actually determine the core values. And so you need to get everybody together and talk about it. What do you want the core values to be? And as the business owner, you get to decide and have the final say. But if you want to get input, you can definitely do that. And that helps you to get buy-in anytime you have input. But as you go through this process, once you determine these things, they can't just in a drawer or be on a wall or in a book or on your website. You actually have to live them out. So you have to think about, okay, how do we live these out? How are we going to do this? And you want to find ways to train people, not only what they are, but how can we recognize people for living these core values out? So when I was implementing them with one of the things we did is we had something that was called Tell Me Something Good board. At this point, we had a few remote employees, but most people were in office. And so you could do this digitally too. And we actually switched to a gratitude report. But what this was, was this a board, but we had little cards printed out and it had all of our different core values and also our theories. So I learned about theories during my restaurant career. At TGI Fridays, that was one of the restaurants I worked at. We had what was called the back dock theory. And basically it just said, you want to keep your back dock nice and tidy. It should be spotless, right? Because if your customers see that your back dock where you keep the trash is immaculately clean, they're going to expect that your kitchen is also clean, right?
Yeah.
And you are also, if you take that much time to clean up your back dock, you will be cleaning up your kitchen really well too. So that was the back dock theory. And so you can create theories for your business as well. But then what we would do is we would reward on these theories. So the Tell Me Something Good board was incredible because not only could the managers or the owners be recognizing people, but team members could actually recognize each other. And so there were little slips of paper and it would have a picture that correlated with the core value, and they would write on there a note to that team member. So now we have appreciation tied in with core values. And appreciation is really important whenever it comes to high performance team, employee performance, and employee engagement. So if you want to retain employees, they need to feel appreciated. And so when you can have the team members appreciating each other, that was really awesome. So we put them all on this board. And then at the end of a month, we would take them all down and we would read different ones. And then we would draw 2 out. And so the person who wrote the card would get a gift card, and the person who received the card would get a gift card.
Wow.
And then we would be passing all the notes out. So you can imagine if you're sitting around a boardroom table with 25 people, you want to be getting little cards given to you. You don't want to be the one sitting there, have I not done anything this month? So you naturally are going to want to do things that are going to be appreciated. But this was a way for us to tie in our core values. And
Okay.
so what I would do as a leader is always just bringing up those core values. So when I was going to recognize somebody, I would be bringing them up. Hey, thank you so much for bringing up that problem that we have that showed great integrity. Thank you
Yeah.
for staying after and taking on this task that showed great ownership, because those
Wow.
were our core values. And so you want to call the core values out by name and recognize when they're in place, because the things that we recognize, the things that we notice, that's what people are going to do more of.
Yeah.
The more that you can recognize it, the better you're going to be. The other things that we would do are we would give out awards at the end of the year. And these
Okay.
awards were tied to our core values. So we had 5 awards for our core values, and then we would have an owner's award. And if the management team, the executive team, we would vote on which team member embodied these principles, and they would get that core value award. And so that was a really fun experience every year for people to be able to get, who got the extreme ownership award? Who got that integrity award? And it was so wonderful to see people getting these awards. And then we'd give out certificates for our theories, which were actually voted on by the team. So the theories we voted on by the team, so everybody had an opportunity to get those as well. And then taking it a step further, we would give these awards out to our customers. So now our customers were tied into our core values. They knew our culture too. And
Okay.
because we wanted them to show up and be a part of the culture as well. So each year they could earn awards that were also tied into the culture. And this is just talking a little bit about culture here. We're talking about awards and recognition, but
Yeah.
people receive appreciation in different ways. And
Yes.
so we have to understand that. I went through this amazing course, Appreciation in the Workplace, and I'm a certified trainer with them. And I would
Hmm.
teach these courses, but it teaches you the different ways that people actually feel appreciation and want to be appreciated. And so for
Wow.
some people, it was actually receiving a small gift. And so if somebody was a physical gifts person, then you needed to actually get them something. If you went on a vacation, it didn't matter if it was a $2 little turtle. They wanted to know that you thought about them, because that would be more meaningful to them than saying,
Wow.
hey, good job. Because we think people feel appreciation. And so sometimes as leaders, we're like, they should be appreciated. They have a job. Or I told
Right.
them, good
Mm.
job. What more do they
Right.
want? Or even I gave them a raise. What more do they want? They
Right.
do want more. And they have to
Yeah.
actually feel it. So there's acts of service. And so that's where it's just asking and seeing if we can do something for somebody. Sometimes it's not, oftentimes people that are acts of service will actually say no. They don't even want help, but it's just offering to help them makes them feel appreciated. And so
Wow.
it's just really important for us to understand that everybody is not going to feel appreciated in the same way. Others are quality
Yeah.
time. And so
Yeah.
what we would do is get everybody tested, and our clients, they would do the same. Our clients would get everybody tested through the appreciation in the workplace. And then we would do debriefs with them, and we would do trainings with them, because when you know how your team members feel appreciation and you understand how to show that appreciation, then it's meaningful. Until
Yeah.
you know how they feel it, it's not meaningful. And so you could
Yeah.
buy them the nicest, most expensive gift. Here's what we think. We think people want gifts. They don't.
Yeah.
That's the lowest
Yeah.
one. That's actually the
Yeah.
lowest one on the list.
Yeah.
The fewest amount of people actually want gifts, but a lot of people do want quality time. And so if you
Wow.
have somebody that feels appreciated by quality time and you never stop in their office to actually talk to them,
Yeah.
or you're always on the run, or you interrupt them, that is going
Yeah.
to make them feel very underappreciated. Even if they just got an award, even if you just gave them a gift card, even if you wrote
Right.
them a little note on the board, they're still not going
Yeah.
to feel that appreciation. We can
Yeah.
go around and say as leaders, well, I did it. Well, it won't get you the results. I always want
Mm-mm.
to look at what gets the results. And that's when people actually feel appreciated. People need to feel safe. They need to feel loved. And I know
Yeah.
these are words that people don't want to always use in the workplace, but Joel Manby wrote this amazing book called Love Works. And it does. All people inherently want to be loved. We all have that desire. People
Wow.
want to be respected, and they want to know that you trust them, and they want to know that they could trust you.
Wow.
And when they feel safe in that environment, then they'll take risk. And risk are
Mm.
needed for high performance teams, because if everybody is afraid to make changes because they might fail, nobody's innovating and the other companies are going to skyrocket right past you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this, Dr. Charity. There is this restaurant owner and he was having this incredible event. There were like 500 people and they had these steaks. All of the steaks got burnt. 500 steaks ruined. And everyone's like, I'm fired. Okay, I'm just leaving. And the chef's like, no, you're not fired. You're not fired. Why would I fire you? Why would you fire this guy? He just made like an epic mistake. Yes, but he's not going to make that mistake again. You've already paid for that mistake, right?
Yeah.
And so just because somebody makes a mistake, it doesn't mean that we have to reprimand them. It doesn't mean that we have to fire them. We actually have to help this person know how to recover because people are their own worst critics. People are so hard on themselves. And if we're not careful, we'll add to that. And we will create this huge fear factor that doesn't allow them to express who they are. And then they'll become very unhappy with where they are. And it's not just about performance, because if you have long time repeated poor performance, you need to get rid of that person. If you don't, you're setting a bad example and you're going to destroy your culture in that way. So you don't want to keep underperformers. It's not that. But just because somebody makes a mistake, we have to move past that mistake. And we have to handle that mistake in the right way. We shouldn't be shaming people.
With compassion.
Talk through that mistake because they didn't want to make it. The good employees don't want to make those mistakes, but failure has to be a part of it if you're going to go at such a quick speed towards success.
So good.
Failure is a piece of success.
So Mary, once you have an employee or a team member who make a few mistakes, maybe they're just seriously struggling with a learning curve. It's not that they're intentionally trying to sabotage their position or anything like that, but they don't learn maybe at the same pace as the rest of their peers who are being trained. How would you address that?
That's a really great question. The first thing to know is everybody learns in different ways and everybody communicates in different ways and everybody works in different ways. So we would do a lot of testing, and I recommend this when I'm working with teams. If you're going to build a high performance team, you have to have self-awareness of not only who you are, but who is on your team. So we need to know how they operate because they may be failing because you are giving them a task that is not within their communication style or within their skill set. So if we are giving them the wrong task, they will never succeed. We should have never hired them for that position likely, but if we don't know what to look for in advance, then we'll make the wrong hiring decisions because we'll think, oh, anybody can talk to customers. No, everybody can't talk to customers. It's sometimes the people that are really good, forward facing, talking to customers, they're not always the people that are really detail oriented when it comes to process. And so we have to realize that everybody's not perfect at everything. So it's like in my home, I'm a better organizer. But my husband, we just moved. We moved a couple times now. Praise God, we're in this amazing house now. But when we were moving, my husband does really good leading up to the move, getting everything packed. And he does really well, like day of the move and just getting it done. Okay, I am very detail oriented. I can get into perfectionistic techniques if I'm not careful, but the details matter. And I'm like, you can't put that in that box with that. That's not happening in my brain. But in his brain, it can all go in the box. And so one time we were moving, he's like, I'm going to let you go to Pittsburgh because you have a trip planned. That's where my family's from. And you're going to go to Pittsburgh and I'm going to do the move. But here's the deal. When you come home, you can't complain. And I'm like, okay, deal. Like done deal. But even this time when we were moving, here's what I really got awareness of. He does so well with that big day of all this stuff to move. Then when we got here, he was putting up shelves and he was organizing stuff. But I am the fine-tuned details. So once he gets everything up in the garage, where my expertise comes in is to come in. Now I know, okay, I got this amount of area to work with. I can strip all this down, have it meticulously organized, get rid of all the stuff we don't need. And we know where everything is now. But his brain is not going down that granular. But when I'm trying to deal with all this, I can get an overwhelm. And so if you have a team member, you have to understand, and this is where I say get curious, because why are they operating in this way? Do they need a training course possibly? Are they being given tasks that really aren't in their strength zone? And that's one thing as business owners, if you started your own business as an entrepreneur, you're doing everything. You're
Yeah.
not good at coaching and marketing and sales and finance and communication and hiring, and you're not. And so sometimes we put employees in these roles and we expect them to be good at everything, and they're not. And so when you do testing like DISC, DISC, that's a communication training, and it breaks people down into 4 different communication styles. So you have the D, or the direct style. You have the I, this is the inspirational style. So the D is like that direct CEO type of personality. That's who I am. Then you have that I, that inspiring personality. They're the life of the party. So if you ever go to a party and you're like, oh my gosh, if I could just act more like them, I'd have an amazing time at this party. Then you have your S's. These are the steady personality. And then you have the C's. And those are the people that are more critical, but they like stats and figures and things like that. Those are different communication styles. So if you're trying to tell someone to make decisions, that's a steady personality, that could be a very challenging place for them to be in. The same thing if you're trying to have somebody customer facing that is the C personality, because we know that's a task oriented personality, and now they have to be forward facing with customers all the time. They might be able to do it. It's not that we can never embody any of these principles, but it's going to be a challenge long term. And so that's just one of them. Another test I really love is the Colby Test, because this teaches us how we actually work. So are you a fact finder? Are you somebody that can quick start? Do you process things? Do you like to actually work with models and stuff? And so one thing that was unique, my boss, the founder, who's my partner now, he is actually a quick start. And I think I have a lot more quick start tendencies now, but before I was a huge fact finder. So literally we would be in meetings together, him and the business development leader, they would be coming up with all these amazing ideas. And I would just be like, okay, because I was chief of operations. So it's like, when you guys decide what it is you want to do, let me know and I will implement it for you. They didn't care about all the details, but we have to know our styles, because if somebody's failing, are they failing because they're in the wrong role? Are they on the wrong seat on the bus? Or do they just not care about the business? And sometimes that's the case. If they can't show up, care about them as a person. Maybe they have something going on at home, and we could say that doesn't matter, but it does matter if they've shown that they've been a great employee. I've had team members that have struggled with personal health issues, mental health issues, family issues, all of these things. And it always goes back to, what does their track record say? If they're a great employee, they're still a great employee. Something is going on right now. Something is off. How can I support this person? If I can support this person through this hard time, I will win them for life. They will be here for life. So I'm going to say, how can I lean in? What can I do to help you right now? What do you need? And really caring about the person and caring about people first over processes and systems. When you care about the people first, they will care about your customers first. And they will want to win for you. They want to let you, and they'll love you for life. I love my team members, but it's just about really understanding who they are and how they're operating and getting curious. And if you get through all of that and you're like, I can't figure this out. Sometimes you're telling them, you're like, hey, I see that you're failing at this. What do you need? Like, how can I help you? Because as a leader, it's our job to help. We're here to be servants to these people and say, how can I help you? When my team is succeeding, that's when I'm succeeding. But sometimes, no matter how much you try, people aren't willing to tell you. And that's for different reasons. Perhaps they were vulnerable at an old job. Perhaps it's pride. But if they've had a bad experience, it can be like, ugh. But I need to know, as a leader, I just need to know, do you need more training? I'll pay for you to get a training course. Do you not know how to do this thing we've asked you to do? Because that's okay. I mean, we've hired people that didn't know how to type on computers before to be coaches, right? You can figure it out. I once worked with a woman. I found out years probably after we worked together. I had never worked on a Mac. Here I was, the first day they hand me a Mac. She just powered through. I'm going to figure this out. But sometimes we're not succeeding because we don't have a skill. And it's okay you got to figure that out from your team. Like, what is it that you need to be successful? Or is it that you just don't care that much to try?
I love it. Thank you for that. I appreciate that comprehensive answer. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have been getting all of the gems that Mary has been sharing. I looked at the time and I'm like, oh my God, the episode is already come to an end. Time has already run out. But I had to make sure that I ask our very special question that we ask every guest that comes to the Leaders Lab. What do you think, in your opinion, is the number one characteristic or trait that every leader must have?
Such an amazing question, Dr. Charity. And thank you so much again for having me today.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah, the number one trait that every leader needs to have is they need to have love. They need to love their team. If they love their team and they love their customers, then they're going to figure it out, because things are not always going to go your way. Sometimes you're going to get burnt, but you can't let one bad experience tarnish the rest of your future. You have to have forgiveness, and that is letting that go, and just realize that as a business leader, we get better too. So we don't have to live in fear. We'll make better hiring decisions. We'll make better training decisions. We can do better at these things. And sometimes we'll make a good decision and it still won't work out. So we got to forgive ourselves. But at the root of that is love.
That's powerful. Thank you. Before we end our segment for today, tell the people, how can they contact you? What is the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, so you can go over to maryguirovich.com, or you can go to coachmarygg.com. If you're listening, coachmarygg.com or maryguirovich.com. And from there, you can actually schedule a call with me on my homepage. And I would just, if you're a business owner, just schedule a call. Let's talk about what your vision is for the culture of your company, where things are at, and we'll see if there's a way that I can help you create that vision that you are looking for the future, because I know that it's possible. I've seen that it happen time and time again, where people go from, oh, I hate my business, to, man, I love it. I get to do this every day. And I want you to have that amazing culture where you feel like, yeah, this is amazing. I built this amazing thing.
Okay. Thank you so much again. Now, listen, for those of you who are listening to the audio version of the podcast and you're like, okay, where can I find these links? You can find them right in the show notes of this episode. And also, if you're watching the video version of this podcast episode, you can find it in the description box below. And so once again, Entreleaders, let's show our appreciation to Coach Mary G for being with us in the Leaders Lab on today. Thank you so much again, ma'am. And also check out her website, check out her book. Okay. It's on Amazon because she's the #1 bestseller there. So do that and connect with her all over social media. Her links will also be in the show notes and description box below. So Thank you once again, Mary. I appreciate you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Charity, and I look forward to connecting with everyone.
Absolutely. Listen, I want to thank you all for listening to the Leaders Lab podcast. I cannot express my gratitude enough. It humbles me to know that you tune in every week from all around the world to learn from me and my special guests like Coach Mary. I hope that you have found our content very valuable and that it has helped you in your journey to becoming a better leader. Obviously, there's such a wealth of information that Coach Mary has. I know that she didn't share everything on today for time's sake, but connect with her. All of her links there in the description box or the show notes, and book a coaching call with her. Figure out what you can do. Get in the mix, okay? So that way you can continue to discover how to become a better leader, how to create or craft that right company culture, business culture, organizational culture that you and your team would need to thrive and to have a high performing team. Also, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Leaders Lab podcast, download today's episode, rate, comment, and share so we can continue reaching millennial entreleaders all across the globe. And of course, you know that you can connect with me everywhere on social media with the handle at DrCharityTV. And if you have any questions, or maybe you're interested in being a guest for season 3, or maybe you just want to submit a testimonial, you want to let us know how something that a guest said, you applied it to your life and it gave you the results that you were looking for or just really didn't expect, email us, the Leaders Lab podcast at DrCharityTV.com, and let us know. I want to share that with our guests because that's additional proof that, hey, this thing worked for me. I heard you, I watched you on the Leaders Lab podcast and I applied it and I got results. And so we appreciate you so much for being with us this week. And as always, I look forward to seeing you next week in the lab.
Thank you for listening to the Leaders Lab podcast. Visit our website at www.drcharitytv.com.